Hi, my name's Londe Yusuf.
And my name is Reggie Williams.
And we're the co-founders of Black Film Space. Black Film Space is a grassroots organization dedicated to enhancing the skill sets of Black filmmakers and building a community of creatives. We host events such as screenwriting workshops, panels, mixers, and other events that are designed to support Black content creators.
In the next episode of the Black Film Space podcast, we interview Dave Fennoy, a voice actor. Dave is best known for voicing Lee Everett in The Walking Dead game and Lucius Fox in Batman Arkham Knight. We talk with Dave about breaking into voice acting, the importance of empathy, working with directors, and much more. And now, on to our interview. All right, Dave, thank you so much for joining us on the Black Film Space podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I already hear you've got that voice, man. Your voice is smooth.
Well, thanks. Sometimes it's smooth, you know. It varies from day to day and time of day. Should have called me first thing this morning. Oh, hey, how you doing?
Well, I'm glad we caught you at a good time. How much of voice acting is talent and how much is taught?
That depends on the person. I think there are people who are born with a lot of talent and maybe they don't spend enough time studying and trying to get the skills, and they may not be as successful as somebody who had less talent but learned the skills. You know, some people are just going to come in and be geniuses. From time to time, you have an actor that shows up that hasn't taken an acting lesson ever, and yet they just intuitively know what to do. They have empathy for the human condition, and they can just express that. Other people may not have as much talent, but learn. And then you find there are people who, because they know who they are, they have a talent for being themselves playing a character. So it varies.
Can anyone be a voice actor?
No.
Really?
Not every. You know, there are people who have no talent. There are people who have no understanding. You know, we all have an intelligence of one kind or another. Some people are good at this. Some people are good at that. Just because you have a wonderful voice doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do voiceover. That's a God-given gift, but if God didn't give you the understanding of how to turn other people's words into your own words, then you're not going to be able to be successful. I run into people all the time who come to me because I teach. Man, they tell me I got a great voice and I should be doing voiceover. And my answer to them is always maybe. Because it's so much more than just a good voice. And the truth of the matter is, when you listen to the landscape of what's out there in voiceover, it's everything. Beautiful voices, quirky voices, high, low voices, the guy next door voice, old crotchety grandpa voices, whatever you can imagine. There are voices out there having successful careers in voiceover.
And you talked about empathy. Can you elaborate on why empathy is important in regards to voice acting?
We have to be empathy with our human condition, with our fellow human beings. Empathy is not just the understanding of how another person might feel, but the feeling of what another person might feel. And if you have empathy, one, as a human being, you have compassion for people, but you also can imagine, you can feel what they're feeling. And that's what it takes when you're reading a script, to find out who this character is, what are they thinking, what are they feeling, what's going on with them, what are the relationships that they're dealing with in whatever it is they're doing. That's really what you're looking at. We may hear a Morgan Freeman and say, oh man, he's got such a great voice. But it really is his read, his empathy with what he's saying, the human condition, the person he's talking to, the person he's representing, that makes us love his voice.
How does one develop empathy?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know how you develop empathy. I think you either have it or you don't. If it can be taught, certainly I don't think it's taught from the aspect of, I'm going to teach you to be an actor and teach you to be empathetic with people. Generally, it's a sensitivity that you either have or don't have, and you may have it and not quite understand how to use it as an actor. And that can be taught. But if you have no empathy, at all for the human condition and how someone might feel in a certain situation, or even be able to put yourself, imagine yourself in that situation and how you would feel and react, you're going to have problems trying to be an actor of any kind.
You've been doing voice acting for 30 years.
30 years just doing that. Before that, I was a disc jockey in the San Francisco Bay Area. And before that, a musician. And I was a child actor growing up in Cleveland at Caramoo House, which if you meet a Black actor from Cleveland, chances are they spent some time at Caramoo House. It was a great community arts center, still is, still exists. And I took acting lessons there, and modern dance and music and sculpture and painting. It's just a fabulous place. And every neighborhood, Black or otherwise, should have a place like that where kids can go and learn to have an appreciation for the arts.
You've been performing voiceover work for 30 years. Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That's pretty much my entire life.
Oh, now you just want to make me feel bad.
I did a little bit of shade. So what have you noticed about your skill set from when you first started in 1990 to 2020?
Well, you know, your voice changes, for one thing. You may not have the range you once had. I think sometimes we notice it in singers, not Patti LaBelle for some reason, but we'll notice it in singers who have gotten older and now their voice has to be pitched down a little bit for songs that they used to sing effortlessly. And I'd have to say the same thing has happened to my voice. I don't have the range that I once did, but I have a much better understanding of how to connect, how to play characters, how to bring nuance to something.
So what made you want to get into voiceover acting?
You know, that's a really good question. All my life, I was walking in the direction of being a performer of some kind. I thought I was going to be an actor on stage, on camera when I was a little kid, and then a musician. Those things didn't quite happen that way. I'm not sure I was fully self-aware to, oh, I want to be an actor, and these are the steps I need to take, A, B, C, D. I did go to college for theater before I dropped out and went back later on in music. In some ways, it was the chance of life and the journey that I took that took me to a place that I could not have imagined when I started my adult journey. I'd been a musician, that didn't work out, got married, had a kid. Baby needs milk, they don't care where it comes from. So when the music thing wasn't working out, I said, well, you know what, I'll become a disc jockey. That'll keep me close to music. And I did, and I was successful at that. But somewhere along the way, I discovered voiceover, which sounds really strange now. There was a time that a lot of people didn't think about voiceover as a career. There's more people in it now than ever before. But it used to be a small band of people doing all the voiceover work. And I remember a buddy of mine, I was just getting my career started in radio. And the morning guy came out as I was coming into the station. Hey, man, where are you going? Oh, I'm going over to the city to do some voiceover. Well, we were in Berkeley, California, and he was going over to San Francisco. And I said, voiceover? What's that? He says, oh, you know, like cartoons and commercials and TV promos. I make more money doing that than I do on the radio. And a little bulb went off, you know. I was like, oh, wow. I never thought about that. And I didn't do anything about it for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years. After a while, it never left me. I mean, I still remember exactly what his words were, as I just told you. So after a while, I started knocking on the voiceover doors. I found out I needed to put together a demo. I did. It was terrible. It was 5 minutes long, should have been 3 minutes long. It was filled with retail copy from, you know, local stores and whatnot. It really needed to be national commercials. I sent it to an agent in San Francisco, Joan Spangler, at an agency called Look. And I knew, oh, she's going to call me next week. And next week came and went, and the next week and the next week. And about a month later, I called her, got her secretary. Oh, yes, we did receive your demo. We'll get back to you. And another week or 2 or 3 or 4 went by. I called again. Oh, yes. No, we got it. We've listened. And she'll be calling you at some point to make an arrangement. It was about 3 months went by before she called up and said, yes, come on in. So I was living in Berkeley, went across the bay to San Francisco to her office. You know, it took you about an hour to get there, got up into her office. She sat me down. She says, well, you know what? Your demo is terrible, but you have a lot of talent. Go back and redo this demo and come back and see me in 6 months. And I was a little flustered. But I went back because she had told me it was too long and too much of this, that, or the other on it, not enough of something else. And I went and made some of those changes, left some of the things on there, but came back in 6 months, which I think she said 6 months to see if I was serious. And she signed me. And the first thing I auditioned for, I booked. And it was one of the very first spots for the California lottery. And then I got some other clients, was the voice of Marine World Africa USA, their summer concert program and a few other things, and some other clients here and there. And I was still on the radio. And I was beginning to really love voiceover more than I liked being on the radio. Well, the being on the radio was okay. It was all that interaction with program directors and sales managers who wanted me to do stuff they wanted me to do, and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I was working as Billy David Ocean on KSOL, number 1 station in the Bay Area. I was a morning guy, 107.7 KSOL. Billy David Ocean getting you up and on your way, baby. Come on with it now. We got, doing my thing. And well, February 9th, 1990, after my shift, got called into the general manager's office and fired. I was the first of the entire staff that day. As everybody got off the air, we got fired. They kept a couple of guys. And I had been taking some classes, and about 3 months before, I'd done a weekend workshop with an agent from Los Angeles, Lee Everett, who afterwards gave me a card and said, you're really talented. If you ever decide to, do voiceover work full time, we'd love to represent you at our agency at SBV, Sutton Barth and Benari. So I went to look for her card because, after 3 months, who knows what drawer I had put it in or if it was still in some pants pocket someplace. But I found her card and I called her and she said, yeah, put together a new demo and come on down. Well, the firing was February 9th, 1990. In May, I started my journey to Los Angeles. I would drive down and stay all week and then drive back home. I had a 10-year-old daughter then, and I was married, and a house in the Bay Area in Berkeley. And, for the first month, I stayed at my aunt's house, and the next month I stayed at a buddy I'd gone to high school with's house. After that, I rented an apartment, a cheap apartment in North Hollywood with another guy that was doing the same thing. And I would drive back and forth every week. So Friday night, Saturday morning, I was driving from LA back up to the Bay Area. Sunday night or Monday morning, I'm driving down to Los Angeles. And I did that for almost a year before I was able to buy a little house and move the family down. We rented our house in Northern California, and things went pretty well for the first year until there was a financial ruin in the country at the end of 1990. And I had to go back on the radio for a minute. I got a job at Jazz FM. Well, first it was KACE, the R&B station in town, and then Jazz FM. So I worked on radio for another 2 years while I was getting my career together, and then things took off, and it's been voiceover ever since.
Amazing how you prepare yourself for that. You know, even though you didn't know that you were going to get fired, you had kind of taken those steps to give yourself an opportunity.
Well, you know what? It was the coincidence of luck. You know, you say how you were getting prepared. I was getting prepared for a voiceover career, but I had told myself, well, as soon as I'm making as much money in voiceover as I am in radio, I'm going to drop radio and just do voiceover. Well, my plan, you know, what's the old saying? We make plans and God laughs. So it may have been the Almighty's plan for me to go to Los Angeles and become a voiceover actor. But how that was going to transform itself, manifest itself, was completely different than I thought.
That's how it is sometimes.
You know what? I think that's how life is. I mean, if somebody told you when you were 10 years old you'd be doing what you're doing now, would you have said, oh yeah, I can see that?
Of course not. in every way possible.
Every way
possible. As far as your experience with acting, you were a child actor in theater and music. How has your experience in those art forms helped you in regards to voice acting?
Well, in regards to voice acting, definitely the acting and actually the music too. There's a certain rhythm that you need to have, a certain way we speak. You don't have to have been a musician or an actor really to do voiceover, but if you're going to do things in voiceover that require more acting, video games, the animation, it really helps in learning how to develop a character and learning how to, play a character. Other than that, the rhythm of how we speak, knowing rhythm, feeling rhythm, I think that helps also. But acting mostly.
Can you give us an example of this rhythm? I heard some rhythm in a moment ago when you were speaking, but it would be great if you could give us an example of what this rhythm you're talking about.
Okay, when I was just kind of playing a black preacher from days of yore, there's a certain rhythm that we might get into as this character. But if I can be somebody like this, there's certain rhythm that I want to find for each person. So whatever the character you're playing, there's a rhythm, there's a song to how they speak. You know, you do Jamaican thing, man. You got to know what the rhythm, what the song is, and what they're saying, man. So whatever it is, having your ear trained to hear that, be able to do that, helps you a lot.
It sounds like you could do a myriad of different voices. Do you know how many you can do?
I've never counted them. So many, once again, are created in the moment based on what the character description is. I think one of the things we do as voice actors, especially if we are in animation and video games, and I do some of everything, but in those two genres in particular, you create or will have created characters maybe from childhood. The people who really are successful often are people like me who, when they were in school, they were copying the voices of characters on television, on their favorite cartoon characters, hey, boo-boo, their favorite cartoon characters, that kind of thing. And even if you don't end up doing those characters, you've kind of trained yourself on the sly without you even knowing you were training yourself to create characters, to play characters, to find and play with other voices.
Mm-hmm.
So many of the people who are just going to have successful careers, they've actually been practicing since they were kids.
In order to break into voiceover, do you need to be able to do a wide range of voices, or can you be successful mastering a specific voice?
Actually, if you can master your voice, if you can master you can have a successful career. And it's this is something a lot of people struggle with or feel inadequate because of. Uh, Maybe they don't do character voices, cartoon voices. Maybe the one thing they have is their own unique voice, and we all have a unique voice. And once you're able to take somebody else's words and make them yours in your voice, uh, now you've mastered it. I look at somebody, you know, a lot of people are upset about some of the celebrity voiceover artists, and yeah, it takes a lot of work away from guys like me, who I would call a journeyman voiceover actor, because the country is so enamored of celebrities. But the reason they're being hired beyond, oh, people will recognize them and clients want to have say, oh yes, so I have so and so voicing my spots, is because most good actors have learned who they are and how to let a character speak through them. I'll listen to somebody when Common is doing a commercial. Uh, uh, Morgan Freeman is doing a commercial. They are being themselves and letting the message, the feeling of it, the meaning of it, just come through who they are. So you only have to be you, but you have to understand who you are. So yeah, you can be a one-trick pony. I think of my late great friend Don LaFontaine, who was the voice we heard on all the movie trailers for decades. And In a World, he was that guy.
Yeah.
And that basically was the thing he did. You heard him on movie trailers, you heard him on promos on various networks, but it was always his voice, whether he was doing drama or comedy or anything in between with a movie or TV show. It was his voice. It was a guy that was pulling down $30,000, $40,000 a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the landscape for voiceover acting right now? Because you said when you started off, there weren't as many opportunities, but there are more opportunities. But I'm just curious to what is the landscape right now?
When I started in voiceover, there, you know, we didn't have this thing called the internet.
What?
No.
So how did you do anything?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, you children. Anyway, when I started in 1990, we weren't looking at the internet. And I'm using 1990 only that's when I came to LA to do this full time. I had been doing it in conjunction with being a radio personality in the 80s in San Francisco. So 1990, I come to town to Los Angeles. You have to have an agent to get work. You have to be in the union to get work. You audition at your agents. You work at studios. You have a reel-to-reel. We're just ending this. The idea of a reel-to-reel demo on that tape. Oh, you know nothing about that. And that moved to cassette, and you know nothing about that. And that moved to DAT, which you may have some recollection of. And finally, as the internet came in, you moved to auditioning, maybe at your agents, but now people are beginning to get home studios. Somewhere in the late 90s, people are starting to build home studios. I had one because I was doing a lot of TV promos. I was one of the voices for the WB, CBS, ABC, SoapNet, CNN, a lot of other things. And I still just been doing some stuff for HBO. And we started recording TV promos from home. Up until then, you had been going to the television station, you're in the booth, they play the commercial or the promo down, and you're saying what you've got to say in between the sound bites of the actors. I was a lot on CBS doing their daytime stuff, Days of Our Lives, on the WB, doing their Wednesday lineup, on ABC, doing a variety of different things. And that process is, you hear the beeps, boop, 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 the tape rolls, and you might hear the actors go through their lines, and you might be saying something like, tonight on an all new whatever it is, so-and-so does something stupid, and so-and-so does something even more stupid, and their stupid gets together for a lot of laughs on so-and-so tonight at 8, 7 Central. So you learn to do that, and also to do this thing. Tonight, it's scary. It's so scary, you're going to pull your covers over your head. But don't worry, you'll be safe, maybe. But we had home studios. And as the technology increased, the internet got better. It opened it up to a wider variety of people across the country and a wider variety of kinds of jobs. Audiobooks became a thing. If you're on YouTube now, there are explainer videos for various companies and products for how to put these things together. Rather than read a manual now, generally there's some video, and it might be with an actor that you see, but it's just as likely to be with a voice that you're hearing as it's taking you through the steps of click on this to this, slot A goes into, something B, a slot B, let's see, tab A goes into slot B. Yeah, that's the thing. Audio, and like I say, audiobooks have become huge. That's the biggest open door. Think about the number of books that have been written since the printing press. And almost all those books somebody would like to have read by somebody, and these writers keep turning them out. It's not the best paying gig in the world, although I have some friends who do very well with audiobooks. I have done 3. I hope to never do a 4th. But that's huge. Corporate narration is huge. And when you think of the number of networks we used to have, when I was a kid, it was 3, then 4, then 5, now a zillion with all the cable channels, and now the streaming channels. So the people to promote the shows on all of those networks and cable channels and streaming channels, it's just a lot more work. And equipment is cheaper now than it used to be. You can get a decent microphone for $200 or $300 as opposed to $2,000 or $3,000. So the landscape has changed. There's just more opportunity for lots of people.
Relative to live action acting, how easy or difficult is it to get voiceover work in 2020?
Wow. Well, if you're good and you know how to market yourself, it can be fairly easy. The best work is still coming through agents. It's still union work, and that includes all genres. I don't think audiobooks have made the cut for unions yet. And you're still talking about, with them, $75 to $150 per finished hour. Each hour is going to take you about 3 to 4 hours to do. So it's really cutting down to 25 to 60 or $70 an hour, which still isn't that bad, but you'll be in a closet for 5 to 8 hours every day, reading. And there's kind of 2 types of voiceover careers now. I would say I have what you call a high profile career, just meaning that the things I do are typically broadcast. You're going to find them on television, in movies, and places, and on radio. But you can have a wonderful career doing narration, e-learning for adults or kids, corporate narration, all of those things that, still need someone to narrate and pay money. So you can have a great career and nobody ever hear you on television, the radio, or in the movies.
Why aren't you interested in doing another audiobook?
Well, this is America, kid, and I can do what I wanted. No, I tell the story. I went into ABC once years ago when I was doing work for them. They handed me a piece of paper. There was one word on it, and they said, "And I go, what's this?" They just say it, next. and you're done. Get out of here. They put that next on 25 spots, and 2 weeks later, I had a check for $5,000. And I always think of that when I'm asked to do an audiobook where we're talking hundreds of pages, usually 300 or more, that you're making fractions of a penny per word. That always comes to mind. And my attention span isn't long enough. The people who love doing audiobooks and are very successful at them, more power to them. I'm not knocking them. I'm not knocking the work, but it needs to be something you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And one of the good things about voiceover now is there's so many genres. You can find something that you like. Although, in so many ways, the industry picks what it wants you to do.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is you may come into voiceover with the idea, I want to be the next Don LaFontaine. Well, there's not a next Don LaFontaine because they don't do movie trailers the way they used to. There's not as many voices on them anymore. That amount of work has decreased, and more people are knocking on the door for it. Also, you may discover that, although myself, I thought, I'll be the next Don LaFontaine. I want to do what Don LaFontaine. I want to be that guy. Well, I have done my share and continue to do my share of movie trailers, but nothing like what Don did. My career is one of variety. I do a fair amount of commercials, a fair amount of TV promos, a fair amount of cartoons, a lot of video games, and a fair amount of narration. And it all adds up to a nice, lucrative career, but it's not exactly what I expected when I got into voiceover. And there's a life lesson in that.
You mentioned that it could be easy to get voiceover work if you are strategic in your marketing. For people that are just starting off, or people that are, they're interested in voiceover work, maybe they're actors or maybe they're not even actors, and they're thinking, okay, this could be something that can supplement my income, or this is something I'm really passionate about, or I just want to see. What are some tips that you can offer in regards to starting off, getting into this industry, and with regards to marketing?
One, I think it'd be the wrong attitude to say, I can just do this and to supplement my income. I think although that might be what happens, I think you're going to have to put in more than supplemental income energy for you to find success. The toughest part about voiceover these days is not necessarily doing the work, it's finding the work. I tell my students all the time that your real job is to audition well, to audition brilliantly. I tell them there are no such things as auditions, only performances. And that when you're on the job, just have a good time. Yeah, you're working. Yeah, you got to give the client what they're looking for. But we do it because we love it. So nowadays, you need a website with your demos on it, which means you need demos, which have to be paid for, because coming into the business, you don't know how to make a demo. So you have to pay somebody to do that. And the running price now is between a low end $1,500 and a high end about $3,500 per demo. And you're definitely going to need a commercial demo. You might need an animation demo, a video game demo, a narration demo, an audiobook demo, a TV promo demo. It can get very expensive. You don't want to necessarily try to do all of that at the same time. You need training. No matter how good your voice is or your ability as an actor, you're going to have to learn how to filter all that acting that you know how to do into standing in front of a microphone and taking what I call take the words off the page and make them yours and bring them through the speakers as if you are one person talking to another person. And not all great actors can do it. You haven't memorized the script when you're doing voiceover. You are reading words on the page, and just that ability to look at those words and read the phrases in a way that it sounds like you're talking is one of the major skills you have to have. And not everybody has it.
Why are the demos so expensive?
Because they're worth it. The demos, this is your calling card. Instead of a business card, you have a demo. You're going to get most of your work from auditions, but to get an agent to get the best auditions, you need a demo so the agent knows what you sound like and can market you. Not a whole lot of marketing, but a little bit. So your demo is going to help get you an agent. Your demo is also going to help you from time to time book jobs without auditioning. Your demo is going to let people know that, oh, that's the guy that did that commercial that I love, whose name I didn't know. Sometimes when they're listening to demos to find a voice, it's going to demonstrate that you can do the kinds of reads they're looking for, because there are specific styles of reads right now that people are looking for. You know, the big announce guy that's no longer the thing. Now we're looking for people to just talk to us. We don't sell me, tell me, share the information. The kind of voices they're looking for these days don't tend to be my kind of voice. I have a deeper, rounder, more professional sounding voice than what is in vogue. And I have had to learn to, chip off some of the pretty edges and be able to become more of everyday voice for a lot of different kinds of work.
Is there a risk in boxing oneself in by doing voiceover work? Like if you're an actor and you start doing voiceover work, does it then become harder to get live action work?
Oh, no, I don't think so. And I remember there was a point in my career, things were, because careers go up and down. I was in a little down place. I think, geez, I'm going to need to become an on-camera actor just so I can continue my voiceover career. You're much more likely, if you're a well-known on-camera actor, comedian, you're much more likely to be able to jump into voiceover easier than and in and out, and you'll still be probably known most for your on-camera work. We see lots and lots and lots of celebrities doing voiceover work now, where 20 years ago it just wasn't the thing, it wasn't in vogue, but now it's okay. And there are people who will tell you they are taking work from us. There's a certain amount of truth to that. But if you're having a successful on-camera career, it will only enhance your opportunities to have a voiceover career.
What if you start off with voiceover?
Well, it's not as easy to switch from voiceover to on-camera. I don't think your voiceover career enhances your on-camera career as your on-camera career, and might help enhance your voiceover career.
And as far as getting an agent, with most professions in this industry, it's almost like a catch-22. Like you need an agent to get work, but in order to get work, you need an agent. So is it like that?
There's some other avenues for work. I'm not a fan of them, but they're part of the landscape of the business now. The pay-to-play sites, the voices.com, the Voices 123 of the world, who what they are actually doing is selling voiceover talent as cheaply as they can to their clients, who are people who might be have some commercials or some narration or whatever to do. Whereas your agent's trying to sell your services for as much as they can, because they get 10% of what you're doing. So the pay-to-play sites, first, you're paying them to be on their website, and you pay them more to get to the top of the list, and sometimes even more to get to the top of the list. You don't always know what the client is actually paying with these sites. So maybe they're offering $10,000 for a series of commercials that they want to do, and you're bidding. They don't go, oh, it's going to pay $10,000. They'll put it out, but they say, well, the minimum is this, but you take your bid. Well, maybe you bid 5,000, you get the gig. What happens to the other 5? The pay-to-play site takes it. Not to mention 20% of what you got to handle transacting the money for you. It's this close to being criminal. There's also Fiverr for a lot of people who are just getting started, which, Fiverr is a place where you get talent. I use that word loosely, to do things for just a few dollars. And might not be five, might be more like 25 or 50, but still really undercutting what a union talent would make. So it's driving the prices down. We live in the same world as the rest of the working world here in the United States. And since Ronald Reagan knocked off the flight controllers union, there's been a big push to deunionize, to have so-called right to work states. They're really right to pay you less states, and to pay the American worker less and less and less, and blame it on China stole our jobs. No, our American corporations sent those jobs to China. Insert minority group here is taking your job. No, there's enough work for everybody. And we're, what's the old joke? Got a billionaire, a white working guy and a black working guy sitting at a table. Yeah, there's 12 cookies. The billionaire takes 11 cookies and he says to the white guy, "Hey man, that brother's about to steal your cookie." And we see the same thing in voiceover, because I guess there's so many people knocking on the doors now, and the rest of the country's push to not pay workers what they're worth, to devalue their work, to say things like, that guy flipping burgers, he doesn't deserve $15 an hour. That's not a 15 hour an hour job. But that person still has to live in this economy where the prices of housing, the prices of cars, the pricing of food, the pricing of everything else has gone up. And I think I've stepped over the edge into politics now.
I mean, it makes sense. I get what you're saying. Voiceover actors, in regards to these gig websites, they're not being valued.
Yeah. There are sites now that are offering, you'll never have to pay a voiceover actor again. Just type in the words and our artificial intelligence voices will voice your commercial, your narration, your whatever for pennies on the dollar. Now, personally, I don't think that's ever going to take away all the business. And maybe for some things, it's okay. You're pulling up to a fast food restaurant and you put in your order. Well, if that's an AI, "Hello, how can I help you, sir? What would you like?" I'm okay with that. But I don't think it's ever going to take over commercials or narration where we really need human feeling. There's so many things I don't think it'll be appropriate for. But AI voices are taking a certain amount of work. And honestly, I have to, admit that I'm an AI voice on Google Assistant. So, I made some money, but ultimately, there's a certain amount of work, once again, that AIs are taking away. There's a certain amount of work that's being underpaid because of pay-to-play sites, because of Fiverr, and that kind of thing.
I certainly hope that you're correct in regards to AI. I mean, that's pretty scary.
As a filmmaker, can you imagine, let's see, I'm just going to, have these characters done by AIs, by artificial intelligence? That'd be nuts.
It sounds nuts today, but in 30, 40, 50 years, particularly because filmmaking's so expensive, if you're an independent filmmaker, I could see people being like, I'm going to take the least expensive route as long as it seems realistic.
In filmmaking, depending on, what you're doing, it's actually cheaper now than ever before.
In certain regards, yeah.
I doing a lot of video games, and I do a certain amount of motion capture, where I'm in a sound stage where the table's not a table, the phone's not a phone, the steps, well, they're steps, but they're not the steps that you're going to see in the video game. And basically, I'm in a black suit with dots on it and a microphone and camera attached to my head, looking at me from about a foot away. and I and the other actors. But when you see it, it's a film.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and all those things, the table has become a desk. The block of wood actually is a phone now. The piece of wood is a gun or a sword or whatever. And I'm, 2 inches taller. My belly has moved up to my chest. And now I'm looking superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And for the stunts that I can't do, just like in a film, they hire somebody else to do the rolls and tumbles and jumps from things, and it's all on a soundstage, and it can look like anything.
In regards to working with directors and working with other actors to develop a character's voice, what is that process like?
Well, generally, in video games, 99 and 44 is 100% of the time you're working by yourself. It'll be you, the director, possibly a writer or producer, and a continuity person trying to keep track of everything. If you're in an animation, you may be working with an ensemble group. Less so now, and even if you are, you're working from different places thanks to the COVID-19. If you're doing a certain amount of work, you're working without a director. I do a lot of work that somebody sends me the script. Oh, this is what we want. I voice it, send it to them. If they want any changes, then we may do some changes a little later on. There's a lot of that going on now where you have to be a self-director. And on that note, nowadays, because everybody who really wants to be successful with this must have a home studio, you are your own director 99% of the time on those auditions. Uh, but getting back to working with a director, if it's a commercial, chances are you book the gig because they liked your read. So it's basically going to be that with a little adjustment here, a little adjustment there. I need this a little faster. Oh, hit this word, that kind of thing. If it's a video game, it's a little bit more like acting on film. Um, you're going to have a director there, and you're going to give an ABC probably on each line, and they're going to come back and either choose a hero line, or they're going to, hey, let's do another take, and this time your motivation is this. The person you're talking to is that far away. You're slightly injured, or whatever it is that they're looking for to come out of this character's mouth. And that pretty much covers, if you're doing TV promos, chances are you're going to be doing them by yourself. Or maybe if you're a new client with somebody, or you're new on the job at some place, maybe somebody's directing you for a few sessions and then you move on. I have clients, I'm one of the Lexus voices, have been doing that for, 15, 20 years now.
Wow.
And no one directs me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And haven't in a long time. I know what the read is. I know what it is. Boom, and away we go.
Nice.
If you're doing an audiobook, nobody's going to direct you unless you're going into a studio. And of course, nowadays, nobody can go into a studio. So it varies. Very often, you are your own director, and which I find a little bit disturbing. I fortunately still in video games, still in animation. The director's very important, and I always believe actors need a director. When you're auditioning and directing yourself, you still have to create a scenario. If you don't understand exactly what's going on in the script, and sometimes there's just not enough information, you've got to make it up. You've got to create it. Otherwise, it's like you're walking out and just talking and don't know what you're saying or why you're saying it. And then they come with the straitjacket and put you away.
Even if it's an experienced voiceover actor, it sounds risky to not have a director.
Well, the thing people are always asking when they get the script, well, what do they want? What do they want this character to be? And often they've given you some idea of what they want, but you've been in this business long enough. You discover that what they say they want and what they end up hiring are often diametrically opposed. and this, it's just the nature of the business. Sometimes what they think they wanted, when they got that audition that was different than everybody that was trying to give them exactly what they asked for, they get that audition from somebody who gives them how they saw it, how they heard it, how they thought it should be. That's who they end up hiring.
Mm-hmm.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
I teach a lot, so people ask me questions a lot. And how do you know what they want? Well, they're going to tell you a little bit of what they think they want, but to a certain extent, you have to take that into account along with your own intuition about what you think it should be, and an honest read, an honest. When I say honest, I mean being yourself. You might be playing a different character, but it still has to be an honest performance.
How many hours in a day are you working when you recording for video game or commercial or whatever it is?
Well, I get a variety of things a day, and like I say, I think my real job is to audition well. So however many auditions I get that day, that's generally how many auditions I'm going to do. Sometimes I will turn things down, maybe because I just don't think I'm right for the part, or it might be, say, a commercial with a product that I don't want to have anything to do with, or maybe my voice is tired and I made enough money today, screw them. That's a joke.
I got you.
So I'm doing my auditions. I also teach, and my teaching has grown. You do this for 30 years and win some awards for your work, and people come knocking on your door. So I do some teaching. I take my students seriously, and I actually, despite what I thought my mother was when she was alive, when I was coming up as a kid, she, oh, son, you should become a teacher. No, Ma, I'm not grading no papers. I'm not going to be doing this stuff after work like you are. I don't want to be messing with these kids. But now I really enjoy teaching voice acting to my students. There's nothing like seeing somebody finally get it and move on and have a successful career. So I have a certain number of students every day, not every day, but most days, along with the work, along with the auditions. If you're doing a video game, they can have you for up to 4 hours. For a certain price, but it doesn't always take that long. Usually commercials are looking at an hour, and it doesn't usually take that long. For certain kinds of narration, they may or may not want to direct you. And so you're doing it in your own time to meet whatever deadline the next day or 2 or 3 days later. So in many ways, you're on your own. It's kind of a hybrid career. There's things you can do based on your, how you feel about doing them, and things that you have to do at certain times.
What if you're doing like an episode of television, like an animated TV show? What's a typical day like if you're like one of the main characters?
Typically 4-hour sessions. And most of the time, up until the pandemic, we're working ensemble. So you're going to a studio that has, 8 or 10 or 12 microphones set around the room and a music stand and your script. And you're going through the script, beginning to end, and doing, pickups later on, or you might be doing your line 2 or 3 times if you screwed up, which I never do. And that's also a joke I do just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've got a 4-hour session there. You may not be there for the full 4 hours, but they're going to pay you for those 4 hours. Video games, nowadays we're doing them in your own home studio. And this is one of the more difficult things to do in your own home studio. If you're doing a narration, a commercial, TV promos, typically the dynamic levels are going to remain pretty much the same. But in a video game, in a cartoon, you may be going from a whisper to a scream, and it could be in the same line. So handling not only the acting and being the character, but handling the mechanics of the technical part of turning down your input volume or turning it up, depending on how loud or quiet you are, often falls on your hands. It's almost like doing an extra job. But because of things like Team Viewer, if you've ever had your computer fixed by somebody across the country, if you allow them into your computer with Team Viewer or a like program, they can get in and set up your Pro Tools or your Audacity or your Twisted Wave or whatever you're recording on, an engineer remotely, and set the levels as you go, and take the hero takes and send them to themselves from your computer. So that's happening a lot now, which it's a little scary to think about somebody taking over your computer and they want to find all your nude pics. But
you wouldn't do that.
They can come in and control
Let's not
everything.
Go there. I'm just joking. Let's not go there.
Log out, and it will have saved you a lot of headaches in trying to, because last thing in the world you want is that the most brilliant take you've ever done, and it's overmodulated, and we can't use it, and we have to hope to see if you can do another one.
So, what tips can you offer people who are not, when they're not actively working or on auditions, to keep their skill set sharp or to practice?
Well, there's a lot of things you can do, and some of which will help other people. Reading for the blind, reading children's stories for children. Once again, a pandemic, you probably would be doing those things online now, but we, just like this Zoom that we're doing now, we have Zoom and Skype and Ecamm Live and lots of other ways that we can connect with people remotely and read to them. And that's good practice to you, and you're doing a service for other people. I suggest if you're not auditioning every day and working every day, read out loud and listen back, and make sure that the way you read is the way you speak, or the way your character would speak. One of the most difficult things about voiceover is the actual reading, the fact that you are reading words in front of you that you have to make sound like you are just speaking. There's a certain imperfection to how we humans actually speak, an imperfection in our rhythm, in the fact that we have to find words we're going to say sometime, that we actually don't speak in words, we speak in phrases. And then you get people who are trying to read the words like this and but if you buy it now, you're going to love it because it's fantastic. No one would believe you. But if you buy it now, you're going to love it because it's fantastic, which sounded more real to you. But when those words are in front of you, it's a skill set you have to develop. And sometimes for some people, it's the one thing they're not working enough at, just being able to read out loud. I sometimes tell people, look, the more you read out loud, not out loud, the better you're going to be at this, not just because of the reading, but because of your exposure now to different thoughts, different ideas, history, art, music, literature, just filling your brain with information that may seem random, that may seem it's like it's going to do nothing for you. And in fact, it will do everything for you.
And what about in regards to like technical skill sets? Like, is diction and pronunciation that important, or how important is it?
Well, there's a certain level of diction we need, and over that, it's too much. Because you will find people who are reading like this and trying to make sure that you hear every word, and I and to and the, and that's not how we talk. We typically, it's not to, it's to. People want to hit the me's, you's, yours, my's, but that's not how we speak. We don't hit them. Have you ever written a letter to somebody and you realize, gosh, why am I trying to use all this fancy language and strange syntax? Ever that happened to you?
An email, not a letter. No, I'm just
okay.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Just messing with me. Yeah, you know what a stamp is? No, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
You start writing a letter, and suddenly you're using words and phrases that you've never used before. The same kind of thing happens often when we pick up something to read out loud. And suddenly we are trying to make sure that everybody understands that we are going to the market and that we are going to enunciate everything, especially those of us from the chocolate persuasion, because we have been told over and over and again that we don't speak English well. But the truth of the matter is, some of the most articulate, well-spoken people I know are us. Southern accent, no Southern accent, from the hood, not from the hood, whatever. We just need to embrace filling our heads with as much information and mythology and story and history as we can, because it gives you a wider base for understanding character.
So speaking of us, there's been some discussions recently about voice actors being limited to certain roles in regards to, increasing opportunities for underrepresented voices.
Yes.
So I just want to hear your thoughts on that. Has anything changed? Is it that important?
Well, first of all, let me say about damn time. We have watched white actors play people of color of all persuasions forever. John Wayne is Genghis Khan. Come on now. That's one that was one from the 50s or 60s or something. And there's just more and more. The guy who played Charlie Chaplin, I don't remember who he is. And yet an uproar to have Black people play characters that we actually were. Cleopatra, Jesus, for that. Jesus wasn't no blonde-haired, blue-eyed person. And what we've seen, especially in animation and video games, have been white people who have imitated us perhaps well, who have played some of these roles forever. As a gentleman that was playing the Cleveland show, playing the character Cleveland, white guy. This guy has played this part for 10 years or more at about $1,000 per show, at least 24 shows per year, and maybe more. I don't know. That's the bottom of the scale that he would be making. And then we're going to add residuals and whatnot to that are going to be coming year in and year out for a long time. The guy that was playing Apu, a good actor. I'm not mentioning names on purpose. And these guys have finally given up those roles and felt a little guilty about it because of the uproar. There was a young lady who had a website. She's a white woman, had a website purporting to be a Black woman so she could get work as a Black actress in video games. That certainly is a road too far. It's not just about the art and I'm an actor, I should be able to play anything. Okay, maybe in a perfect world you should, but we're in a multicultural world where many of our multicultures have not been included. And that has been the case with Black actors, Spanish actors, Asian actors. So we're in a point now where I see a lot of scripts that come through that if the character is Asian, we are only accepting auditions from Asian actors. If the character is Black, we are only accepting submissions from African American. I don't know why they don't want to just say Black. We're only accepting submissions from African American actors or Latin actors for Latins. So I actually think it's a good thing because it provides more opportunity for a wider diaspora from all over the planet. We are a multicultural, multiracial society now. And I think those of us, and when I say those of us who are sensitive, who pay attention to that, who want to see this multicultural society succeed, and that includes our white brethren and sistren as well. Because many of them are on our side, even though they may have some slight problems. They don't quite know their privilege and so forth and so on. But I'm going to take them often at their good intentions. We can train them later. But we are finally in a world that is often recognizing the inequality, the unfairness, and there are people trying to do something about it. So that's a good thing. That's a good. Are we there
Yeah.
yet? Hell no. Hopefully we're on our way. I think part of the getting rid of the fool that's been in office the last 4 years, and getting a sane person, and a woman of color, Black and Asian, Kamala, as vice president, and possibly with becoming president, first woman, as well as first Black, first Asian woman to become president, would be a good thing. Unfortunately, the history of this country, you've got a lot of folk here that are still hanging on to the Confederacy, to the idea that somehow those who don't look like them don't deserve the same opportunities that they do, or that somehow you're having equal opportunity is taking something away from them. It's not a zero-sum game. There is enough for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, and once again, the truth of the matter is they're being played just like for so long we've been played. Those with the most power want to keep the most power, pay everybody the least they have to. And one of the ways to do that is divide and conquer. And where workers of whatever stripe, whatever color, really should be working together to benefit all of us, have somehow bought into the idea that, well, my white skin makes me better. It's a push and pull. And God bless these athletes that we have now that are stepping up and taking a stand. God bless Colin Kaepernick, LeBron James, and all the others who are making a difference, who are speaking up when, a generation before there weren't as many.
Absolutely. So where do you teach?
Well, right now online, I have taught all over the world. I have traveled to cities throughout the United States teaching my workshop, Voice Acting for Video Games. I've taught it in London. I've taught it in France. I've taught it online in Australia. I've taught it in person in Colombia. But now everything's online, and I do private lessons. And if people want to get in touch with me, it's real easy. DaveFennoy.com. That's my website, DaveFennoy.com. There's a little tab that says Study VO, and you can buy a single hour or 5 or 10. Of course, you get a deal with 5 or 10. And there's a Christmas special going on right now. But basically, I teach from here, and I teach how to be a voice actor in a number of genres. I just wrapped up a workshop on narration. Most people know me for video games because I've been in so many and won some awards in quite a few, but I teach narration, TV promos, video games, and commercial, and the basics.
Awesome. So in regards to the famous characters that you have played, Nick Fury, Blade, Lucius Fox, how do you approach these characters?
Well, I approach them not from, oh, gee, what does this guy sound like? I approach them, well, who is this guy? What's their worldview? What do they think? What do they feel? What's their action like? What kinds of things are they doing? And just bring that to it. Just concentrate on that. And I also tell my actors that I'm teaching, look, be the character first. What does this character think? What are the things in this character's past that made them who they are? If you don't know what it is, make it up. What's the character's education level? What's the character's view of various aspects of the world? Are they religious? Are they not religious? Are they ambivalent? Are they political? Are they a criminal? Not a criminal? Are they? Who are they? Who are they? Discover that and create that, because sometimes they've given you some information and they're assuming you don't know. Just because it's a cartoon character that's been around for a long time doesn't mean that every take on that character has been the same. You have to find your own take that still somehow shows who this character is as conceived by the writer. So I'm not looking at, oh, these are the words this character is saying, until I figured out who this character is. Yeah. What's this character's worldview?
Well, thank you so much, Dave, for joining us on the Black Film Space podcast. This has been incredibly informative for me. I believe it will be for a lot of the people listening. Your voice is essentially music to my ears. Yeah, this has just been a lot of fun.
Oh, man. And let me say one thing to the Black filmmakers out there, the Black animators, and hopefully the Black video game developers and producers. I'm an actor. I want to do your project. Please don't come to me after the fact, man, I would have loved to have had you on here, but I didn't want to insult you by offering you this work that I really couldn't pay you as much as I think you make all the time. Every artist you know, every actor you know wants to be a part of great projects. I want to be a part of your project. If you want me, look me up. I'm not saying I'm going to do everybody's project, but at least give me the opportunity to turn it down. I really believe the best cartoon, the best characters are still to come, and nothing makes an actor feel better than being the voice, the creator of some character that has not been conceived and that you can bring to life. So don't hesitate to call me now.
Awesome.
Get in touch with your boy.
shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot, man. Shoot your shot. Know what I'm saying?
Where's that person from?
I don't know. It just, somewhere in my head, it just came out. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned your website, davefennoy.com. Where else can people find you on the internets?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I do have an Instagram account that I probably don't use nearly as much as I should. If it's a business thing, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. Just look up Dave Fennoy, Fennoy, Dave, first name. And you will find me there. Google me. I promise you I show up.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Dave. Thanks for listening to the Black Film Space podcast. This episode was co-executive produced by Gabrielle Charles and Sino Gibson and was edited by Courtney Lett. If you're interested in being part of our community and attending events, please visit us at blackfilmspace.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Black Film Space. Subscribe to our email list and podcast. All right, see you soon.